Come with me back to when I was a little girl. After a warm rain, I liked to go underneath the bridge of my apartment building, and I would greedily scoop up the red Georgia clay, which was supple for molding. And sometimes I was a princess, and it would become my loyal and loving subjects. And sometimes I was a chef, and it would be my entrees. It was my sanctuary. Do you remember that? What was your sanctuary? Maybe it was like you drew or painted for hours in your room, or you danced around, or maybe you like to play in the dirt like me, right? Yeah. Well, you know how it is. As I grew up, it became inappropriate for a young lady to play in the dirt. It was all about friends with good character and good grades. And at school, it's all about the latest fashion and the latest movie. Didn't really care about movies because I love to read, but fashion, I actually taught myself how to sew and design, and of course, speak French because I was going to be a famous designer in Paris. Then it came time to apply for university, and it wasn't practical for a young lady to live in Paris alone. So, you know, I had the good grades, so I got an academic scholarship, and I went to an American university and became misaligned with my purpose. And as a result, it took me 10 years to graduate from college. Anyone can relate to that? But I have a really good excuse and story behind that 10-year journey. You see, when I was like 2 or 3 years old, my mom was diagnosed with renal failure. So she was on dialysis. And if you know anything about renal failure, one by one, each of the body systems decline. So she was in and out of the hospital a lot. And my second year in school, she had been in the hospital for 3 months. And I just knew this was it, after 21 years on dialysis. So I had to go home and be the good daughter and take care of her. I created this tradition of making ointments and healing food to welcome her home from her long stays in the hospital, because hospital food sucks. So that's what I did in those 10 years. I mean, of course, I got a full-time job and all that too. And I finally decided to go back to school and get a practical degree, you know, in accounting. But an interesting thing happened. My father, who was actually older and healthier, he taught me how to play tennis when he was 75, had a really minor surgery. And he died first. And you know, because my parents loved each other so much, she died the next year. I had lost myself completely. But you know, life goes on. I finally graduated with honors, got a good job in corporate America, and then it's all about, you know, a good husband, the house in the suburbs, the SUV, right, and the 2 kids. So I did all that very well, except for the kid part. So I had our first child, no sweat. And we all love to hear this part. After 6 weeks after she was born, I was back into my clothes, right? That's the dream. But then as we tried for the second one, that's when my body began to rebel. I had a miscarriage. And then I had another one. And when I was finally able to keep my pregnancy, I was so miserable that I was on bed rest the last trimester. And I expanded to 63 pounds overweight, not the dream. But it wasn't over. My son, I held him in my arms, but for some reason, I just couldn't make any connection to my own child. No connection. But I knew there was going to be an answer because there's always someone smarter than a woman's body. Right? So I anticipated my 6-week postpartum appointment because I was going to finally get answers to find out what's going on. So the day came. This was my walk to the examination room. My heels echoing in the hallway, my heart pounding. I was determined I was going to hold it together because I was a together woman, right? With the good job. But when she came into the office, she started asking me questions, and for some reason, my responses went a little bit something like this. So I clean, and then I clean again, and then there's diapers, and there's laundry, and there's blocks, and there's Legos! Legos! And my son, and there's this, and there's all of this, and I just don't know who I am anymore. And she ever so calmly told me, "We have a prescription for that." I wasn't sure if I should scream or cry more. I was like, how is it possible that the answer to this and this and all of this and everything that I had become and everything that I was no longer was on a piece of paper? Is it possible? I knew that she was wrong all day long, and it was time for me to have my own healing tradition. So I found myself in my kitchen, and I started sauteing ginger and garlic, which is warming, and to boost my immune system, a little bit of green onions, and to detoxify my system, some bitter greens, mustard greens and beet greens. And I chopped that up. And then, for my iron and my oxygen levels, some beets. And just because there wasn't enough color, some carrots, When you steam them, all of that gives you a great source of protein. But I wasn't done. On my plate, I topped it with cashews and sunflower seeds, because when a woman births a male child, the testosterone strips her body of nicene. They don't tell you that. And, of course, right next to my plate, I had red raspberry tea, because that retones and reshapes the uterus. I had found my sanctuary again, and food. So now that was about 16 years ago now. And I went on to have 4 more children, right? And so now I'm the spectacular mom of 6. Thank you very much. Yes. So I bet you're really wondering, how does she hold it together now? So I've got 2 things that I do. I have this practice that I call sweet talk. And it goes a little bit something like this. Peace in. Peace in me. Peace in you. Peace in everything we do. Peace in my mood. Peace in my food. Peace in everything that is good. And while I am inculcating an environment of peace, I'm emanating compassion beyond belief. Be the peace. But there's still Legos. And for that, I have something else. About 11:15 every morning, you'll find me in my kitchen, cooking up something wholesome and healing and delicious. I just let the spices tell me what to do, and the foods speak to me. Do you have a sanctuary? I want to invite you to create one. It could be something old, or it could be something new. Maybe it's painting, or dancing like Casey, or cooking like me. But make sure that it includes sweet talk and movement and nourishment. And most of all, make sure that it's something that makes your heart sing. Because therein lies the power of building a system of self-nurturing.